Hello, my name is Morgan and I'm an educator here at the HistoryMiami Museum. Today I want to talk to you about pioneer life in Miami. I have with me this object, and before we get started about talking about pioneer life, I want you to take a minute and think about these questions. What is this object? What was it used for? Who used it? When was it used? Why was it used? And where was it used? The following pictures are some different views of the object to help you try to think about what it is. Take a moment and pause the video and think about these questions if you would like. Now let's talk about pioneer life. What does the word pioneer mean? Pioneer means the first person to do something. Who were the pioneers in Miami's history? At the museum, we consider the pioneer time period in Miami's history to start in about the 1860s, with immigrants coming from the Caribbean and migrants coming from the northern United States. Given these two facts, do you think the people we call pioneers fit the actual definition of a pioneer, the first person to do something? Maybe not exactly. There was still human history being created prior to what we call pioneer times of Miami. We talk about the beginning of pioneer life with the Homestead Act of 1862. This act encouraged people to move into South Florida, and they were given land to develop. Now, to develop the land, they had to clear any plant or forest life in existence in that area. They had to build their own home, find their own food, make their own clothes, and they would have to find, make, or trade for any other items that they needed in their daily life. So let's go back to our object here. Now that you've had some time to think, I'll tell you what it is. This is a candlestick maker. You can see here that there are 12 sticks. There's a hole at the bottom in which the wax was poured to use. So now we know what this is and what it was used for and who used it and when it was used, but why was it used? If families had to build their own lives in an era without modern technology and electricity, having a source of light was very important. Candlestick makers allowed them to have that source of light when it wasn't daytime. This was an important tool that helped to facilitate daily life for many pioneers in Miami. Lots of other objects and tools were built and used to facilitate other parts of life for these pioneers. This is a picture of a pioneer house replica that we have in the Tropical Dreams exhibition at the HistoryMiami Museum. In the surrounding area of this replica home, there are pictures and paintings of pioneer life and the landscape in Miami. Now, we know that pioneers use this, but do you think the men or the women during pioneer times would have used this? If you said the women, you're correct. Oftentimes it was the mother or the daughter of the family that was in charge of making sure household items like candles were taken care of. To help facilitate training and exchange of knowledge, there was one pioneer by the name of William Brickell who established a trading post. This is the mouth of the Miami River in 1897. The small structure at the right-hand side is the Brickell Trading Post. The trades made at this trading post were mostly between white settlers and Native Americans. Do you think that the trades made between the white settlers and Native Americans were always fair and equal? If you said no, you're correct. Oftentimes these trades benefited the white settlers and the white communities a lot more than they did the Native American communities. There was also cooperation between Bahamian immigrants and white settlers here. Bahamian immigrants brought to Miami some important things that we still see today. They brought farming tools and practices that were used in the Bahamas and architectural styles of buildings, specifically the shotgun house. Because the landscape and weather of the Bahamas and Miami were very similar, the knowledge and materials that Bahamians brought with them were of great importance to the establishment and development of Miami. However, just like the relationship between Native Americans and white settlers, there was an imbalance of power between the white settlers and the Bahamian immigrants. Jobs were one way in which this power imbalance showed. The jobs and types of businesses that Bahamian immigrants could do upon arriving in the Miami area were different than those of white settlers. For example, it was common for Bahamian men to become drivers for white settlers and for Bahamian women to become seamstresses or laundresses. This was a contrast from white settlers who had very few limitations to what kind of jobs or businesses that they could operate. The development and migrations of people that happened during pioneer times here in Miami are important to understanding the dynamics that exist here today in Miami.